Okay, hello teachers. Welcome back to another segment of Classroom Management by Design for the primary teachers. If you are new, if this is your first time seeing us, welcome. I am Lauren Zubigan, the founder of Lesson Plan Toolbox, where we help primary teachers master classroom management easily, effectively, and most importantly, consistently. So here's what we do every week. We kind of see what's out there, what's going on, what's trending, and give you some feedback on how to improve your classroom management. If you are inside our community, you get access to us on a deeper level where we alleviate as much stress as possible out of your day-to-day teacher life just to give you the teacher life of your dreams. We try to take you from the chaos to the comfort as best we can, as quickly as we can, and just alleviate all of that to you. And everything is done, can be done during a school day, so you don't even have to do anything extra at home. That's the power of the membership. And if you're interested, you are more than welcome to participate in the membership for free for the month of October. October can be one of those crazy months in the classroom. The honeymoon period is over. You are welcome to take advantage of our October event where we are welcoming all primary teachers in for free. Test this out, see how this works. You've got nothing to lose. But let's jump into this week's episode. I promised you last week, if you did not see last week's episode, don't skip it. It's all about the power of silence in the classroom. So this week, we are going to be giving you a step-by-step approach to incorporating silence into your classroom. Again, easily, effectively, and consistently. Because in a world that seems to get louder and louder every day, silence has become a rare commodity, especially in schools where the hustle and bustle of active learning and social interactions and movement can make quiet moments feel just foreign to us, right? However, as primary teachers, silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use to incorporate into your teaching practice, not just for yourselves, but for our students. Silence, it's not just about control or punishment. It's about creating space for reflection, for focus, and for emotional regulation, most importantly. So in this segment, we are going to incorporate silence into your daily teaching practice and also show you how to use it as that classroom management tool to help your students understand its value, okay? With a little bit of intentionality, you can transform silence from something students fear or resist into just that cherished part of the day that they're going to want to include every single day. I promise you, I've done this, it works. Okay, so why is silence important for teachers? It's simple. You give so much of yourself to your students every single day. Your energy, your attention, your care. But without moments of silence, it's easy to become overwhelmed and exhausted. Silence is as beneficial to you as it is to your students, offering those moments to just recharge and refocus and maintain your emotional balance. It's so important. Silence helps you to recharge, right? It's mentally and emotionally demanding. Teaching is. It requires continuous interaction with your students. We are constantly on, which makes us burn out faster. Incorporating those intentional moments of silence into your day, whether it's in between your lessons, during your independent work time, or even when students are transitioning from their subjects, it gives you that much needed opportunity to take a mental breath. These pauses in communication provide those moments for you to reset your energy and gather your thoughts together, okay? Silence is going to aid in the reflection. Without pauses, our teaching can feel reactive instead of proactive. When you build moments of silence into your day, you give yourself time to reflect on what's working and what's not. These pauses are going to allow you to recalibrate your lesson and adjust your strategies as you need to. It's going to help you to plan more effectively. The regular practice of mindfulness, which often includes those moments of silence, has been shown to improve a teacher's ability to manage classroom stress and improve emotional regulation. This is going to increase your effectiveness as a teacher. It's a win-win. So when we take these moments of silence for ourselves, we're cultivating that sense of calm and patience And we can handle those unpredictable situations with a lot more stability. Okay? And you're probably wondering, well, how in the world do we do this? Silence may seem like an impossible luxury in the midst of a bustling classroom, but with intentional planning, it can become a natural part of your day. I'm going to give you some strategies for incorporating silence into your teaching routine. Take them, use them, it's totally up to you. Start your day with silence. Before your students arrive, take 2 to 3 minutes to just sit in silence at your desk or in a quiet spot in the classroom. Use this time to mentally prepare for the day ahead. Maybe do some breathing. Center yourself. This practice allows you to begin the day with that sense of calm and focus, which will naturally carry over into your interactions with your students. Another strategy is transitions between activities or subjects can be chaotic. It's natural. That happens to a lot of teachers. Instead of verbal instructions, though, try using silence during transitions. What does this look like? After a busy hands-on activity, ask your students to move quietly back to their seats without speaking. Use a visual cue, something like just raising up a sign or even a hand that it's time to transition in silence. Those small moments can be so grounding for both you and your students to help set that reset. And the next strategy you want to do, if you are not already doing this one, please start incorporating this immediately. After the bell rings and your classroom is empty, and if you don't have duty, take a moment of silence for yourself. Reflect on your successes for the day, reflect on your challenges, and how you can adjust for tomorrow. Those moments of silence at the end of the day are going to leave you to shift in your personal time without carrying that stress home with you. Okay? So just think about these strategies. Again, if you're not doing the one at the end of the day, try to. Okay? Do your best. Try to incorporate it at the end of the day. So before we dive into the how-to, it's essential to shift the way you talk about silence in your classroom. We got into this a little bit last week. The language you use to introduce and reinforce the silence will influence how your students perceive it, right? Instead of positioning silence as something that's imposed or enforced, talk about it as a tool that your students can use to focus, to calm themselves, and prepare themselves for learning. And again, because these are our youngest of learners, if we can shift their mindset now, it's going to benefit them in the future. So instead of saying something like, I need everyone to be quiet right now, try this. We're going to use this moment of silence to help our brains get ready for our next task. That's simple. By introducing silence in this way, you're signaling to your students that silence is a tool for success, not a reaction to misbehavior. Okay? If you're transitioning between activities, instead of saying something like, no talking while you move back to your seats, try this language. Let's move in silence so we can reset our minds and get ready to focus on the next part of our day. That simple. It's that simple. Again, transitions between activities can so often be noisy and chaotic. But these are the perfect opportunities for you to teach students that silence can help them to reset and refocus. And with the right language, you can turn these moments into calm, purposeful pauses rather than rushed, noisy shifts, which is where a lot of the chaos comes in. So how do we implement silence transitions? Before transitioning from one subject to another, use a brief explanation to students to help them understand the purpose of the silence. For example, we just finished a really fun and exciting activities, and our brains are still buzzing. I can feel the energy. But right now, we're going to take 30 seconds to calm down and get ready for our next task. Think of this as your reset button for your mind. Okay? Again, introduce those nonverbal signals for silent transitions. This could be the raising of the hand or having a card, something that simple. The language you could use would be simply, when I raise my hand, it's time for us to use silence to transition calmly and quietly to the next classroom, to the next class activity. Excuse me. This works because by framing silence rather as a reset than a rule, you're helping your students to see it as something that helps them, not something that restricts them. That is the trick to this. Okay? Now you can teach the power of pausing. Silence can be used effectively to encourage your students to reflect on their actions, their decisions, and their learning. Reflection is a critical component of self-regulation and emotional growth, and it starts with creating quiet moments in the classroom where students can process their thoughts. Try to find times during your day to do this. So after a lesson or a discussion, build in time to give your students moments of silence to think about what they've learned and explain to them why this is important. But again, you're going to use language that emphasizes the value of thinking. So it might sound like this. Let's take a minute of silence to think about what we've learned today. Close your eyes or look at your notebook and just let your mind go with the ideas we just talked about. This quiet time helps our brains to organize everything and help prepare us to share our thoughts in a meaningful manner. Before responding to questions or conflict situations, encourage your students to take a moment of silence to reflect before they react or speak. It's not always easy, but teach them this. Before you answer, let's take a moment of quiet to think. Sometimes our first reaction isn't our best one. So this silence is going to give us time to reflect on what we really want to say. This works because when students are given the chance to reflect silently, they not only retain the information better, but they also develop that habit of pausing before reacting emotionally, emotional regulation. This is going to foster that better behavior with decision making and communication. Okay? In your classroom, you probably have some kind of quiet space. That's awesome. Many students struggle with emotional regulation, and silence can be a powerful, powerful tool to help them regain that control. So if you can create that quiet space in your classroom, whether you call it a calm down corner or whatever you want to call it, it gives your students a non-punitive option for managing their emotions through silence. Okay? If you don't have one, just find a cozy area in your classroom where your students can go when they feel overwhelmed or frustrated or just upset. And make sure it's like an inviting space for them, not associated with punishment. Okay? It's not like we're putting a chair in a corner. We want them to be knowing it's a place for them to calm their minds. And then introduce the space to them. This is our calm down corner. And it's here for anyone who needs time to sit quietly, to settle down. Sometimes we need a little break, and that's okay. You can use this space to take a few minutes of silence to help yourself feel better. But explain that the purpose of the space is to help the students choose silence when they need it. Offer comforting tools like maybe a soft pillow or a fidget toy, but emphasize the key component is the silence. If they're playing and fussing, they lose that privilege. It's not called a play corner, it's called a quiet corner, right? Use the language. Say something like, when you feel your emotions getting really, really big, it's important to give yourself time to quiet them. Use this space to sit in silence. Close your eyes, take deep breaths. When you're ready, you can come back to the group. Now, you probably want to have a timer there too, so they don't abuse it, okay? But the important thing is when students see silence as a way to manage their emotions on their own, they become more self-reliant and confident in their ability to regulate their feelings without the need of you intervening. It's magical. Okay. Silence can become such a valued part of your daily routine if you introduce it as something beneficial at the start of the day and at the end of the day, and you do this every day. These moments don't need to be long. A minute or two is all you really need to create that sense of calm and focus. That's it, 1 or 2 minutes. At the beginning of each day, start with a moment of silent reflection. This is going to help your students transition from the excitement of arriving in the morning to the focus of learning. What does this sound like? Boys and girls, let's begin our day with 1 minute of silence. This is time for you to just settle into the day, think about what you want to achieve today, and prepare your mind for learning. It's like stretching your brain before we jump into our lesson. Then you will use the same technique at the end of each day to help your students reflect on what they've learned today and mentally prepare them to go home and share, hopefully, with their grown-ups what they did. Before we leave today, we're going to take a moment of silence to think about one thing. That we're proud of. This quiet time is going to help us to wrap up the day and just celebrate everything we accomplished, especially on those tough days. See, by bookending the day with these moments of silence, you're helping your students to build the habit of reflection while also creating that peaceful, focused classroom environment. These moments of quiet give you time to reset and recharge in between lessons and tasks. It's just as beneficial for you. And I also want to point out, one of the most powerful ways to incorporate silence into your classroom is by teaching your students how to use it for mindful listening. Often your students are focused on what they want to say next, that they don't fully engage in listening to what others are saying. The silence teaches them to pause, absorb, and process before speaking. So when another student is speaking, ask the class to sit silently and listen fully before responding. After you or the speaker is done, then allow a few seconds of silence to let the words sink in. 5 to 10 seconds, nothing big. When someone else is speaking, we're going to use silence to focus on their words. And when they finish, we'll sit quietly for just a couple seconds so we can think about what they said before we respond. This you will want to model. Model this by yourself by pausing after a student speaks to show them that you are truly listening and considering their words. They watch you. Mindful listening, aided by the silence, is going to help your students to become better communicators and foster that respect for others in your classroom. It, of course, also offers deeper engagement with classroom discussions. So important. Silence is not a punishment. I've said it over and over, but I'm going to say it again. Silence is not a punishment. It's a tool that helps both teachers and students create a space of reflection, emotional regulation, and deeper learning. By incorporating silence into your daily routine, using the empowering language to introduce it, and modeling this, you can transform how your students perceive and use silence in the classroom. Through silent transition, those reflective pauses, and setting up those quiet spaces, your students will learn that silence is something they can choose and control themselves. It's going to help them navigate the challenges of learning and growing themselves. As teachers, using this as a tool for ourselves is going to help us to reset, recharge, and create that more peaceful, refocused classroom. And again, if we can do this throughout the day, it will help us to leave more of the stress at school rather than taking it home with us. So often, silence is treated as punishment. We need to reframe this whole idea, this whole concept, and teach it as a self-regulation tool. Teach our students that this is a secret power they have within them that they can use whenever they want. And best of all, when they're having an argument with somebody or they disagree with somebody, sometimes silence is the best answer. Okay, that's all we're going to say about that for this week. Hopefully you can take these strategies, incorporate some of them into your classrooms, and we would love to hear any feedback. If you like this video, give us a like. If you could share this, give us any comments, feedback, we would love to hear from you. The more we hear from you, the more we know what direction to take this whole little classroom management by design series in. And we're having fun with this. We're listening to teachers, responding to teachers. Let us know what you need. We're happy to help you. Again, if you want to get in for free on a deeper level with us, where you are sharing your specific situations, we reply to you specifically. That's what happens inside our membership. We would love to hear from you. Nobody is judging. We are just here to support you. So until next week, we will see you again with another segment of Classroom Management by Design. Until then, head to lessonplantoolbox.com. Plenty of resources there. Follow us on Instagram. I changed it up. I am at Classroom Management for Primary on Instagram. And once you're there, send me a message and I am happy to send you the information to get into the membership. And actually, I'm going to link it in this video too, so you have it right at your fingertips. Okay, until next week, we'll talk to you soon.